What is up, FGO fans? Welcome back to another new servant analysis video. This is Yamanami Keisuke. Again, I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. I probably am. But I also need to apologize in advance if this is going to ruffle any feathers, not to be punny with the image here. A quick aside, this is my 25th new servant analysis video. I love doing these. They're a blast. I can't believe it's been 25 of these already. I just want to say thanks to anybody who ever watched any of these. If you've enjoyed them, if you got anything out of them, or even if you just had it on as a background, thank you so much. These are probably my favorite thing to do as far as YouTube content goes. And so I'm really glad that I've been able to do as many as I've been able to. So that being said, got that out of the way. Let's take a look at what he brings to the game, or maybe re-brings to the game, let's say, with Yamanami Keisuke. Here we go.
水の北、山の南や春の月か。さあ、前へ進みたまえ。君の道を。
So this is Yamanami Keisuke. It's really tough to kind of break this down without harkening back to so many other past servants. Obviously, Nero Bride comes to mind, Chevalier d'Eon comes to mind, but the most prominent one that sticks out to me while looking through this kit is Prince of Lan Ling. They do very different things. There are some selfish aspects to each one that the other does not have. However, that's going to be the natural comparison that we will keep in the back of our minds. At least I would ask that you keep in the back of your mind as we go through this kit. It's a very simple kit, so this won't take long, but again, we're going to need to juxtapose between the two. Down here on this first skill, it's attack up on the party for 3 turns, 10 to 20%, 6 turn cooldown. NP gain up for the party, 10 to 20%. That's for 3 turns as well. And then there's a flat 10-star bomb right there. Not too bad, right? So 10 stars, NP gain up, attack up. Not bad, not bad. On the second skill here, it's quick up and arts up. It's 20 to 30%, but it's for himself. It's only for himself. There is also a 20% flat battery for himself. We love to see flat batteries. It's very player friendly. However, at only 20%, it's not exactly anything to get excited about. It's nice, it's okay. It's obviously very workable with not only Kaleidoscope, the OK scope, or an append plus an imaginary element, MLB, or the Ilioscope, right? So there are some different avenues to take when looking at this sort of skill, but it's very clear that this is to help him get his NP. He wants to get his NP. He wants to use this skill plus his first skill to get his NP, get it going, fire it off, and reap the benefits, right? On this third skill, it's a one-time over 3-turn evade for the party on a 6-turn cooldown. He also restores HP for the party, 2,000 to 3,000. That's not terrible. He also strips away poison, curse, or burn debuffs from your party. This is very nitpicky, but I would have liked to see this skill be a 5-turn cooldown. I think it would have helped bolster him a little bit more. It's a small thing, but again, I just feel like it would have helped him a little bit more than what it might seem. Moving over to his NP, it's attack up for the party, 20 to 40%. That scales with his NP level. He also charges the NP for the party at 10 to 30%. That's with overcharge. He'll then give 10 stars per turn on himself for 3 turns, and he will crit buff Shinsen Gumi allies, so basically the Okita altars, and Hijikata plus Yamanami here. There might be someone else, I'm not too sure, but that's essentially who it's going to buff. On his passives here, he does have magic resistance D and writing skill E. He has debuff resist of 12.5%, and then quick up of 2%. That's really nothing to call home about. His second append is not really going to be that terribly attractive because of the fact that his battery is 20% and it's flat. It's not going to scale at all. So unless you're really dependent on Ilioscopes or MLB imaginary elements, then I don't know that I would chase down that second append if you really want to use him. The third append might be a better way to go. It does give him even further offensive advantage against berserkers. You always like to see offensive class advantage when it comes to that third append. It's not super common, so it's nice that he has it on his. Otherwise, I'm not really sure that I'd recommend chasing any of his append skills. Over on his traits, they're extremely boring, honestly. Like, they just are. He's lawful good. He is I don't know, saber. There's just not really much here at all. His materials are also boring at first, which is a good thing. As you can see here, 18 proofs for his ascension. That's really not bad. 8 pages, 6 spirit roots, and 4 scarabs. Again, it's really nothing terrible. We're not upset about that at all. And then on his skill materials here, it's pretty boring. It's good to be boring when it comes to skills. 12 pages, 36 proofs. That sounds like a lot, but he doesn't need any of his skills to be level 10 to function well. You could go to level 6s and be fine. In doing that, you don't use any proofs at all. That being said, he will also need 16 feathers and 8 mirrors to get up to level 9, and then of course the lures. It's really not that bad. Even when you account for the 36 proofs per skill, you're just not gonna look to take him up to 10, 10, 10. If you were gonna do that, then you probably like him enough to not care about that kind of a cost anyway. On his append skills though, it gets to be pretty egregious, and I simply do not understand why this trend continues to happen, especially for 4-star units ever since the start of LB 6.5. Now, there have been a lot of different times where in the past, a servant would need a ton of a bronze material. We all know about that. That's fine. That's a thing. Stakes, chains, proofs, bones, we know, right? It just seems like since LB 6.5, it's been highly concentrated. It's been LB 6.5 materials, and they have been very, very, very high in quantity. That does not change here. On his append skills, it's 15 seeds, it's 6 scarabs, it's 5 yarn, and then it's 60 of these ceremonial daggers. That is insane. It's insane. If he is your favorite servant, you are going to need to prepare for 180 if you want to triple append him. 180 of those, which is beyond me. I don't understand why we're disincentivizing people to triple append some of their favorite niche servants. I think back on Gareth and Summer. Summer Gareth is not going to be a servant who's going to break the game wide open and become this meta, game-changing, easy mode servant. So why are we implicitly punishing not only her, but people who enjoy using her? Same with several other servants ever since LB 6.5 came out. Why are we implicitly punishing those players and therefore the servants as well by having these unrealistic material requirements that are very, very, very concentrated? I don't understand it. It could be recency bias. Perhaps I'm just seeing things from a more recent lens, but it does seem very pronounced to me. So that's a trend that I would like to see start to go away, where we take it a little bit easier on our 4 stars, especially these limited 4 stars, and we say, hey, maybe you don't need 60 of these to level up an append skill. His bond CE tentatively translates as forward. It's extremely supportive as well, just like the rest of his kit. It's MP gain up for the party of 10% though. That does stack nicely with his skill, but it's not really enough to move the needle either way. You're not really gonna seek to use this. It also provides another 15% critical damage to Shinsengumi servants, so what we talked about with his MP. But again, this isn't enough to really move the needle in favor of this CE as opposed to other ones, so ultimately, this will also end up collecting dust on some masters' shelves. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the easiest comparison to make is going to be Lan Ling. You could probably search for some with Chevalier d'Eon or Nero Bride, more likely, but the easiest and most direct comparison to make is going to be Prince of Lan Ling. Now, there are a couple of key differences. One is that on the second skill of Yamanami here, the card up for quick and arts is his own card. It's himself. So he buffs his own arts and quick 20 to 30%, 6-turn cooldown, and he'll give himself the NP charge of 20%. When it comes to Lan Ling, on the third skill here, the arts up is for the party over 3 turns. It is weaker, but it's for the party. It's 10 to 20%. Then when you take into account the NP battery, it is for one single party member. It's 10 to 20%. So it's a targetable 20% battery, whereas when it came to the battery on Yamanami's, it's for himself only. That does not apply to the NPs though. So on the NP for Lan Ling, he will drain the enemy's NP gauge, and he'll apply damage cut and attack up for the party. When it comes to Yamanami, however, he'll give attack up, he'll give stars per turn to himself, 10 per turn. He'll also apply critical damage up 50% for Shinsengumi targets, and he will charge the party's NP 10 to 30% based off of overcharge. If it seems like we're getting kind of lost, we're getting kind of stuck in the weeds a little bit, we're kind of losing track of like where one is better than the other, that's the point. I'm not quite certain that we needed to have a servant in the game with so narrow a niche as to basically just be extremely similar, let's say, to someone we've already had in the past. Does some things a little bit better, does some things a little bit worse, but neither one of them are distinguishing enough from one another to really merit having this new servant be designed the way that he is. Now, I'm not simply criticizing Yamanami here to an empty degree and saying, hey, he's bad, whatever. I'm not saying he's bad. In fact, he can be good. I think he needed a little bit more. I think they could have gone a little bit farther. He is a limited 4-star. We don't need to be afraid of giving limited 4-stars just a little bit of extra mustard in their kit. So with that in mind, obviously the Shinsengumi ally crit damage buff, like that's nice. That's a cool little lane for him to occupy. That's his niche, right? As for the rest of it, I don't know that his second skill should be purely selfish. I don't know that this NP is strong enough for me to merit sending him out there, knowing that at least part of his kit is going to be selfish when he is a support servant. Now, with that in mind, as far as what I would have given him, what I would have liked for him to have gotten, he has stars per turn, he has crit up, right? He has battery for the party. He has battery for himself and MP gain for the party and attack up, all of those things, right? Those are all nice, good things. But there are some things that he could have gotten that it immediately would have made him stand out from his peers as far as the arts, saber supporters go. If you put overcharge on him, if you put cooldown reduction on him, if you put some kind of interesting gimmick similar to what Ashwataman has, right, where Buster or Quick is going to produce a different effect, maybe you could give that to him so that his arts cards, you know, if he applies this effect, maybe the arts cards drop more stars, something like that, right? This is just spitballing here. But I think they should have given him a little bit more. I think he deserved to have a little bit more in his kit to help distinguish him from Lan Ling, but also to make him just a little bit stronger anyway. He is held back by that second skill being purely selfish and the fact that he is a supporter. Those don't really jive with one another. Ultimately, you could say that he and Lan Ling have great synergy. You could say that they work very well together and that they would be phenomenal to support a third servant. You very well could say that. You could. It's a compelling argument to make. I'm not sure it's one that a lot of people are going to seek out, but I don't necessarily know that that invalidates it anyway, right? With that in mind, I am simply saying I wish that he had a little bit more in his kit, just a little bit more in his kit, just one or two little something more. Because as it stands now, he's simply a little bit too similar to Lan Ling for my taste, and for me, that's a very specific lane to occupy as it is anyway. Long story short, Yamanami here is honestly like pretty player friendly. He has a lot of flat aspects to his kit, which we very much like. We like to see things that the player can get at skill levels 1 through 4 or even 6 and get a decent return on that. Not have to have a max level skill to get the full battery or to get the full stars per turn. Is that honestly like kind of an entitled thing? Yeah, it is for me to say that. It is. It's basically saying, hey, you know, we deserve to not have to fork over materials to get more from a skill. And that's not true, but it's nice. It's not true, but it's nice. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more in Yamanami's kit. One or two little things, not a huge deal. But as it stands now, I'm not quite certain that he's really going to carve out a strong enough position for himself in the game so as not to kind of fade into oblivion. This is especially true if he doesn't get a rerun. So if this event does not get a rerun, which indications seem to be pointing that way for a lot of events, if this doesn't get a rerun, I fear that he'll become largely forgotten in a very short amount of time, to the degree that people won't really care what was in his kit. And I think that's kind of a sad prediction to be able to make right off the bat. I'm not saying all servants have to be home run hits and they all need to be Gilgamesh or Altera or just like these world-changing powers, but you would like to see some shelf life. You'd like to see some staying power for these servants, especially when it comes to a limited one. And so being able to look at one right off the bat and say, wow, these are very similar to these, and because of that, I'm not really sure that what he brings to the table is going to justify putting him out there, raising him up, etc., using him over someone that I maybe already have from the past. So, long story short, Yamanami, cool, good, supportive arts saber, not bad. He is definitely not bad. That being said, just a little bit too much redundancy here. Not a lot that really says, hey, this is overpowered. This is way too much. They went too far here. There's really not much at all that says that to me. And again, I'm not saying all servants should have that, but I think he deserved to have a little bit of extra mustard in his kit. I do. I think he deserved to have a little bit of extra mustard. Regardless, thank you so much for watching. I know this was a shorter one than the previous one. It's a more straightforward kit with a very similar comparison to be made, in which neither one is really demonstrably better. So thank you very much for watching. If you are going to roll for him, good luck on your rolls. If you already did roll for him, I hope it went well. No matter what though, whether you are rolling now or in 2 years as an NA player, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for 25 fun videos like this. Some have been great, some have been not so much, but all of them have been a pleasure for me to make, no matter the outcome of the analysis. Take care of yourself, good luck on your rolls, good luck in the events, and I will see you in the next one. Later, guys.